Useless is useless, after all. No excuses. That's why you're still just a manager at your age. It's funny how falling off the career track leads to this. Everyone, take a good look. This is what happens when you fell off the career track. If you don't want to end up like this, strive for success. I, who had fallen from the elite path and was languishing as an incompetent employee, was transferred to a warehouse in a depopulated area due to a mistake I didn't even remember making. However, I made a decision there. A while later, my boss, who had called me useless, contacted me. "Who are you?" He seemed unaware that I had been pretending to be incompetent. "I am David. I moved to New York after graduating from a local high school. After graduating from a prestigious university, I joined a major trading company in the city. With some confidence in my language skills from studying abroad during my student days, my linguistic abilities were quickly recognized by my superiors, and I was entrusted with many interactions with overseas clients. Thankfully, my performance improved, and I was promoted to manager faster than any of my peers. With my alma mater being something to be proud of, people often said I was on the elite track. But, of course, not everyone was happy with my picture-perfect life. In a culture where cooperation was rare and competition for performance and promotion was fierce, anyone who excelled was a target. Many employees had quit because of this environment, and I too became a target. The main instigators were a few colleagues from my department, including Tom, who was in the same cohort as me. They were unhappy that I was the only one who had been promoted. They conspired to sabotage me, subjecting me to daily harassment. I was excluded from important updates, and the company car I had reserved was taken without permission. Each act was minor, and Tom and others skillfully made excuses to avoid blame. Initially, I was confident and off to a smooth start as a manager, but the constant petty harassment gradually wore me down. One day, my calls from clients were not transferred to me, and my work was stolen. That might have been the final clincher. Was it my fault? What did I do to them? I wanted to prove them wrong with my hard work. But when I saw Tom succeeding with work that should have been mine and looking down on me, my spirit quietly broke. To advance beyond manager, passing an internal exam was a mandatory requirement. "David, you could easily get promoted. Just take the exam," urged my manager, Mark, and my director, Robert. I initially prepared for it, but as I became more mentally exhausted, I lost all motivation. In fact, the thought of passing the exam and facing even worse harassment terrified me. What if it escalated beyond stolen work to something irreparable? Fear paralyzed me, and I couldn't prepare for the exam. I wasn't even willing to take the exam. "David, what's wrong? I thought you'd pass this exam easily." "Sorry. It seems I'm not ready yet." "David, is something wrong? If you have concerns, talk to me." "No, I'm fine. It was just a lack of ability on my part. I'm sorry for wasting the recommendation. I failed the first exam." Mark was worried, but I said nothing. I was repeatedly urged to take the exam, and even when I refused, my name would appear on the list. But I couldn't muster any motivation, so I deliberately failed multiple times. "He failed again, didn't he? Is that exam really that tough?" "No, Mark said David should pass easily, so it can't be that hard." "Either way, he chickened out, right? He's just a loser now. Maybe his past achievements weren't even his own." Wow, if that's true, that's the worst. I knew there were rumors, both true and false. But I didn't even feel like arguing back. I no longer cared about any of it. "David. Mark, please, just don't worry about me anymore." And so, without even realizing it, I quietly fell off the path everyone once recognized as elite. After stepping off the elite track, the harassment from Tom and his group stopped. Of course, it did. There was no longer any reason for them to be jealous. But the trauma from those days and my deteriorated mental state left me as a shadow of my former self, stuck as an incompetent employee. Is David in bad shape lately, isn't he? I heard he even stopped taking the promotion exams. Yeah, the rumor is that he's given up on promoting. I had grown used to hearing such rumors. Watching Tom and my other peers rapidly get promoted after I had fallen, I often found myself thinking, what does it mean to be peers? To them, was I just an obstacle? What were all those days even for? Peers should be comrades who share joys and sorrows, right? They should be people you trust and rely on more than anyone else in the company, right? At least, that's how I viewed them back then. I thought we were important to each other. But after being betrayed, I became scared to trust anyone again. I chose to live quietly, avoiding the spotlight as much as possible. I knew I was stagnating as a businessman. I understood what awaited me as a result of choosing this path. But I never wanted to experience that kind of pain again. I didn't mind if people continued to call me a failure for the rest of my life. This was fine. I continued my days quietly, without taking on big projects or showing any ambition, just steadily doing my existing work. I wanted to be the kind of person that no one cares if I'm there or not, and I'm there when they notice me. As I worked with this mindset, the years passed, and before I knew it, I was 50. I had never been promoted beyond manager, experiencing neither joy nor much sadness. Even though every day was the same, it was far more comfortable than being hurt. Fortunately, my colleagues recognized me as someone who doesn't get promoted but is diligent in his work, and someone who, while not advancing, is competent enough at his job. They trusted me, perhaps because they didn't see me as a threat. With 10 years left until retirement, I decided to continue living quietly. Or so I thought, until one day. I'm James. I look forward to working with you. I'm David, a manager. Nice to meet you. Are you the so-called incompetent manager? Yes. I heard from Tom, your peer. He said you once got lucky enough to get on the career track but ended up falling miserably. I see. What a weirdo. James, my younger boss who had just joined the company. For some reason, he had heard about my reputation from Tom and sneered as he made those remarks. David, don't let it bother you. We don't think that way at all. That's right. Everyone in our department knows you're great at your job. Thank you, everyone. I'm fine, let's get back to work. Perhaps because I had no prospects for advancement, my colleagues were kind to me in this competitive environment. I knew they pitied me. Thanking my supportive colleagues, I returned to my work. However, during a break when I went to the restroom, I overheard someone talking about me. James, how's the new team? Got some good people, right? Yeah, well, they're all right. But that manager, David, that guy's something else. James was talking to an employee from a neighboring department. I couldn't help but stop and listen to their conversation. David? His reputation is pretty good. Did something happen? The thing is, there's just nothing remarkable about him, good or bad. It's like he's just going through the motions. It's scary how he has no ambition. I mean, being just a manager at his age is already a red flag. Really? But I've heard he's quick and meticulous with his work. Come on. That's just the bare minimum. Everyone does that. He does the same thing every day. He never submits project proposals. And in meetings, he only speaks when asked directly. He never stays late and leaves right at quitting time. When new projects come up, he always hands them off to younger employees. Does he even care about his job? Is he mocking it? Wow, really? Yeah. He's hopeless. Honestly useless. No wonder he's still just a manager. Ambition. I had abandoned that long ago. Whether I got promoted or not, I was still looked down upon. Even though I had chosen this path myself, it still hurt a little. What was my life even for? With a faint smile, I headed to another floor's restroom. James was back at his desk an hour later after his meeting. David. Yes? We're moving forward with this proposal. Please have the other employees review it. Understood. Oh, and since you won't be participating in this project, you don't need to read it yourself. Despite being taken aback by his blatant sarcasm, James handed me a copy of the proposal with a look of disdain. As I took it and started to walk away, he added with a smirk, "It must be tough working under someone younger, but let's try to get along." I'm counting on you, David. Then one day, something happened. What? Yes, I'll check immediately and get back to you. What's wrong? Well, it's about one of David's accounts. There's been a misorder, and the other company is in a huge mess because of it. What? The call my subordinate took. It was from one of my clients. Before I could take over, the client had been yelling over the phone, leaving the young woman's hands trembling. I'll check it out immediately, you can take a break. But? It's okay, just calm down first. Thank you. Even though I told her to calm down, I was the one most panicking. This can't be happening. This client was one I had been handling for years. In all those years, I had never made such a mistake. Of course, no one is immune to mistakes. But I distinctly remember double-checking this order multiple times. A misorder? That can't be right. However, upon checking, one of the order entries had a typo in the product code, resulting in a large quantity of the wrong product being shipped. Product code errors are indeed common. That's why I had checked it so many times. But why now? As I was bewildered, James, who had been away, rushed over after hearing the commotion. David! What is going on here? It seems to be a misorder due to an incorrect product code entry. This project is under David's responsibility. How do you plan to handle this? Wait a minute. I checked the order multiple times before placing it. Then how did this mistake happen? Well, I had no proof that I had thoroughly checked it. You say you checked it, but you were probably just working roughly. Useless is useless, after all. James, I'll report this to the higher-ups. For now, you need to go apologize to the client and resolve this issue immediately. We'll talk after that. James shouted and then stormed out of the department. David, what's going to happen now? I couldn't even respond to my subordinates. I went to the client to apologize, and fortunately, due to our long-standing relationship, they agreed to let it slide this time. However, future transactions would now favor them. I couldn't understand how this had happened. But James didn't bother to investigate and placed all the blame on me. Clearly, this is David's mistake. But no excuses. That's why you're still just a manager at your age. It's funny how falling off the career track leads to this. Everyone, take a good look. This is what happens when you fell off the career track. If you don't want to end up like this, strive for success. James publicly humiliated me in front of everyone, making me a laughingstock. He was the only one laughing. All my subordinates turned their eyes away. I didn't feel anger or sadness anymore. I just felt empty. The transfer order came 3 days later. David is going to be transferred. Transfer? That sounds nice, but it's really a demotion, right? I've never heard of the place he's being sent to. Me neither. It's a rural area. I've heard it's where they send people who've caused problems. Wow, that's bad. I better be careful. Shh, keep it down. He might hear you. Oops. I bowed my head to my gossiping subordinates. I'm sorry for the trouble. Thank you for everything. David, please do your best out there. Thank you. Even though saying this might make you all laugh at me, I'm rooting for you. I hope you all do well. With that farewell, I left the department. My new assignment was at a warehouse in a rural area in another state. As my subordinates had said, it was essentially a demotion. I had only heard rumors about the warehouse. But at over 50 years old, I had no other choice but to go there. The warehouse was in poor condition and it was old. The location was remote, requiring a car for commuting. Although there was a bus stop, it was desolate and only had 2 buses a day. Since I didn't own a car, I was provided a company car for commuting. Good morning. I'll be working here from today. My name is David. On my first day, I nervously opened the door to the office next to the warehouse, where about 15 employees were present. The atmosphere was gloomy, and everyone looked dispirited. Oh, you must be David. Welcome to this dump. You must have gone through a lot, said a weary-looking man, apparently the manager here, John. Despite his title, it seemed he had also been demoted here after losing his drive in the competitive environment at the main office. It seemed that the other employees were similar, having little confidence and having struggled at the main office. The work itself was easier. Previously, my work had been primarily desk work, but here I started by learning the names of the warehouse machines with guidance. Eventually, I would also inspect machines and manufacture parts. After working for a while, I realized that the warehouse staff, despite their lack of confidence, were not the type to drag each other down or harass one another. Of course, they were all people who had been on the receiving end of such treatment. They understood each other's feelings, showing empathy and cooperation, which felt refreshing. In this environment, my mental state began to stabilize. I had completely lost my motivation, but I wanted to help the employees here who had accepted me. That's how I began to feel. I used to pretend to be incompetent to avoid the elite path. But here, I thought I might actually be able to do my best. While the human relationships seemed problem-free, the warehouse division had a lot of issues. Listing them out filled my notes, but the biggest issue was the lack of an inventory management process. I decided to start by boosting the staff's confidence. For the first time in a while, I felt motivated. I approached John and declared, "I want to solve the problems in this warehouse and raise the employees' motivation." John, who was indifferent, told me to do as I pleased, so I gratefully began to act. How could I help everyone regain their confidence? I realized that praising them might be essential. These people had been ridiculed and looked down upon at the main office. No matter how old you are, everyone appreciates being praised. I revamped the inventory management process and distributed the tasks to the employees. It's not too difficult, so please give it a try. Yes, understood. Although they seemed hesitant, the employees were diligent and followed instructions. I praised them generously, perhaps excessively, each time. I showed them the work, let them try it, and then praised them. By repeating this process, I aimed to brighten their spirits. As a result, the employees began to take the initiative in learning new tasks, increasing efficiency and motivation, and gaining confidence. Before long, not only did we streamline the processes, but the employees also developed software to make management easier and more accurate, continuously improving it for everyone's use. Simultaneously, the sudden rise in the warehouse division's operational level, previously ridiculed by the main office, caused quite a stir. The warehouse division, where I was now, was tacitly known as a place where demoted employees were sent. It was supposed to be a dumping ground for those who couldn't quit, just doing the bare minimum. Suddenly, it began operating at a remarkably high level. Naturally, everyone was surprised. President Smith, curious about the dramatic improvement, instructed Vice President Stephen, saying, "Go and find out why the operational level has increased so much. We can't have any data falsification, so check thoroughly." Stephen arrived early in the morning to check things out. Stephen had visited the warehouse a few times before, ostensibly for inspections but mainly to ensure no one was slacking off. Previously, he would see the demoralized faces of the employees, sigh, and leave quickly. This time was different. "Hi, Stephen. Thank you for coming all this way. Please take a look at our new software if you have time." The bright voices were totally different from the previously gloomy atmosphere. Even the warehouse, which had seemed dark and stagnant, appeared rejuvenated. "Oh, you there. May I have a word?" "Yes?" "Recently, the performance of this warehouse division has been exceptionally good. Smith is curious if there's a reason behind it. Can you tell me what has changed?" The employee who was stopped smiled at Stephen. "Well, it's because we have Dave with us." "What?" Not understanding what they meant, Stephen stopped several other employees to ask the same question. Each time, they responded with, "It's because of Dave." This puzzled Stephen even more. "Wait, hold on. Who or what is Dave? Can someone explain this to me?" Several employees exchanged glances and laughed. "They're talking about David. Ever since he came here, everyone has been working happily as if they've been reborn." "David, the one recently transferred from the main office?" "Yes. David helped us regain our confidence and motivated us. Until now, we were only reprimanded and never praised. We were just doing what we were told. But David thanked and praised us for even the basic things, which made us happy. He reminded us of the joy of being appreciated and the fun of work. After hearing the details, Stephen asked, "Could I speak with David for a bit?" and called for me. "Stephen, long time no see." "Indeed. How have you been?" "Quite well, actually. I feel like I can work more enjoyably and authentically here than I did at the main office. It seems this place suits me better." "I see. I've heard you've been motivating the other employees." "Thank you very much." "No, I was just lucky that things worked out. Also, it was frustrating to hear this place being called a dumping ground." "I understand. I'll apologize to everyone." "Thank you." "No, you don't need to apologize." Stephen had been struggling with how to boost the motivation of this department. He apologized to everyone and returned to the main office. A few days later, Stephen called James from the main office. It seemed he was questioning the reason for my demotion. Stephen began to question the discrepancy between the order mistake he had heard about from James and what he observed from me and the employees' feedback. He decided to reinvestigate to determine if the order mistake was truly my fault. What he discovered was completely unexpected. He instructed the IT department to check the operation logs on my PC and found that after I had correctly entered the data, James had logged in with his account and altered it to incorrect information. When this was revealed, James literally collapsed in front of everyone. According to what Stephen told me later, James admitted that managing an older subordinate like me was troublesome. He resented my prestigious university background and wanted to undermine me, thinking that my lack of project proposals indicated I wasn't as capable as my education suggested. He confessed all this while looking pale and defeated. "I see. I should have investigated properly back then. I know it's too late now, but I'm truly sorry." "No, it's not your fault. Don't apologize. Besides, I'm glad I ended up here. This place helped me regain confidence in myself and realize that I can still contribute to the company." "Thank you. You are an invaluable asset to this company. It's a shame you're not back at the main office." "That's too kind of you. I mean it sincerely." "Thank you." Feeling deeply grateful for Stephen's kind words, I ended the call. I was ready to continue working steadily from here. Just as I had that thought. What, a transfer to the main office? I received a transfer order. It was James who informed me over the phone. Moreover, it included a promotion to an executive position. Who are you?" I could hear James's trembling voice over the phone. It seemed he was quite afraid of me. "Weren't you just a demotivated employee, just a useless 50-year-old? Repeating these words, James sounded utterly confused. I slowly smiled. "It's not wrong. I am just a 50-year-old man." Having been mentally exhausted from being sabotaged by my peers and colleagues, I had been doing mundane work for a long time. However, the work here had been enjoyable for the first time in a while. I felt like my efforts were being recognized, and that made me happy. Yes, work can be fun. This place reminded me of that. It had taken a long time to get here, but is it still possible to make a difference? I didn't know if I could perform as well at the main office as I had here. But I wanted to meet the expectations of Stephen, who had personally called me back to the main office. With that resolve, I returned to the main office. Upon my return, Stephen asked me to attend an executive meeting immediately. The other executives apologized to me for the recent events. They asked if I had anything to say, and I replied, "I believe competition among employees is important. However, when it leads to undermining each other, it's counterproductive. Instead of pulling each other down, if we work together and strive to improve as a team, our company can achieve better results. I want to use this experience to review our current practices and improve our company's structure." Though I was prepared for rejection, my suggestion was unexpectedly approved right away. Until now, we focused solely on growing the company, causing employees like you great hardship. Please go forward to lead the way in transforming our company into a place where everyone can work with peace of mind. Nodding in agreement with Smith's words, I felt a renewed sense of purpose. As an executive, I promptly introduced and implemented various measures. Shifting from a competitive environment. We started by following the same method I used in the warehouse division, assigning tasks and offering praise to boost employees' confidence. I felt a noticeable improvement in workplace relationships, which had previously been strained, and I was eager to continue. As individual work transformed into teamwork, there was initial resistance from some employees, but ultimately, this approach improved motivation and performance, and our company's results began to rise. The high turnover rate, which had been a concern, also started to decline. Seeing everyone work with smiles on their faces, and hearing "It's all thanks to you, David," made me incredibly happy. I had lost my confidence for a long time and endured a painful period. But those difficult days allowed me to want to change this company now. If I had forced myself to stay on the elite path, I might have broken down and left the company eventually. While I was desperately trying to protect myself, those days were not in vain. That's what I believe. And I think it's enough that I was the only one to go through such hardship. I don't want the new young employees to experience the same. I want them to enjoy their work, to work with vitality, to have goals and strive together with smiles on their faces. Even if it sounds idealistic, that is my current goal and my purpose in life. With only a little time left until retirement, I am firmly resolved to continue creating a work environment where everyone can thrive.